side of the hallway. And again, that's for the unscheduled tracks if you want to say something on your own. And we have all kinds of activities downstairs like we were talking about. Please don't turn off the hotel TVs in the lobby. I know it's tempting. I think we put black tape over it anyway to help them out. But the hotel's been great to us, and we're glad that it's still standing. I think to ensure that it keeps standing, let's treat it with respect, the respect it deserves, and who knows what the future will hold. So, shall we want to give the official intro?
Oh. Caught me a little bit unprepared there. Are you guys ready to go? Okay, Philip Tyrone and Lady Ada, give them a round of applause.
All right, well, we have a special announcement about cell phones. So we have cell phone jammers up here, so...
First
you don't
have to worry about turning off your cell phone.
Yeah, it actually doesn't matter, so sorry, you can't Twitter or use your cell phone right now. Aw. Yeah. All right, so I'm Phil Tyrone, and this is Lamar Freed.
Hello.
A little bit about us before we get started, so you know what you're in store for. I'm senior editor of Make Magazine. You guys hear Make? Yay, Make! Because people always ask. We're now around almost 4 years. We have 125,000 circulation, around 45,000 subscribers. The website has a lot of people who visit it, which is great because there's a huge community of people building things and sending their projects to us now. Our Maker Faire that we do every year is up to 65,000 people. So it's a giant event in San Francisco. We also do one in Austin. And here's some of the things that we've been up to at Make. You can see some of the covers. We're quarterly, so it comes out every few months. Then we branched into craft for people who like to do more of the softer side, literally, of hacking. And then we decided that, well, what other weird thing can we do? So we have a Japanese version, which is kind of taking off, which is great. And I actually like, I can't really read Japanese, but it looks cooler in Japanese. So. And this is Lamore, her business, Adafruit.
Yep. So.
You could probably just look at the screen.
I can see the screen just
okay.
forward. So 2 years ago, I sort of talked about the Wave Bubble project. This is an open source RF jammer, which is actually, if you look, it kind of looks like this. This is the beta. And basically, you know, I've just been releasing open source hardware, electronic kits, basically more soldering, microcontroller programming, firmware, analog, digital, that kind of stuff, because I think that's kind of interesting, and I found that a lot of people are also interested in building these sorts of technologies, especially technologies that are illegal. For example, it's illegal to own, use, operate, sell a cell phone jammer. So, I mean, you can buy them, but there's a chance that those stores will be shut down. But what's cool is that if you know a little bit of hardware, a little bit of soldering, you can create your own cell phone jammer using parts from Mouser and DigiKey. So for like $100 of parts, you can build your own. So and there's no way to stop people from buying these components because they're just everyday electronics. And that's what I like. It's creating something interesting from stuff you find around you. So.
This was in a cab. You know when they're driving and they're talking and they're swerving all over? Yeah. So. And you know what? It's not even being passive aggressive. I'm like, hey, watch out! You almost hit that person. Hey, you know, you should probably get off the phone. Like, you're not supposed to be on the phone. And he's like, whatever. And then, and there was a lot of, hello, can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Anyways, so that's an action shot. You guys will enjoy if you're visiting the cab situation. So maybe build a cell phone jammer.
This is another project that I did a couple years ago, which is a Bleepy Bloopy Box. It's an open source TB303 clone, so that's a synthesizer from 20 years ago, more, actually from 1984, that was discontinued by Roland, Japan. But a lot of people still want these synthesizer boxes, so a friend of mine and I, when I was in college, decided, hey, let's reverse engineer it. And because there's no patents valid anymore, because it's been more than 20 years, let's make a clone that, again, you can build using off-the-shelf parts, and you can make this synthesizer no longer available, goes for $2,000 on eBay. You can build your own for $200. And here's some, blinky light kits. I just wanted to show a couple projects so you see where we're coming from. This is a LED bicycle wheel animation kit, so you can make it Pac-Man when you bike. Like, And I also did some sort of small educational kits. This is the Mini Pop kit. This is just making your own persistence of vision toys for like under $17. And I like the idea of low-cost introductory electronics.
Yeah, this one when you wave it, it spells out words.
So what's cool is that Mitch Altman, who's giving the talk after this, and you should definitely stay for, he said, well, you know, I want to build this brain machine, which is this thing that makes you trip. I don't know. It didn't work for me. But like, he's a real child of the 70s, so he can explain it to you, and I'm sure he will in an hour. And he took this Mini Pop kit and he modified it, and he even gives workshops now, and I think he's giving a workshop either today or tomorrow on how to build these using the Mini Pop kits. That's cool. And this is an Altoids tin MP3 charger, so it's another small educational kit. And this is another thing I worked with Mitch Altman on. He invented the TV Begon, which is that little remote control you can turn off TVs. But the problem with the TV Begon is although it's awesome and it turns off many TVs, it only works up to like 30 feet, which is totally not enough. So we worked together to build a version that can go up to 200 feet. And
Yeah, this one made its debut at CES. I don't know if you saw.
so it can turn off a lot of TV. It's good. It has like 4 LEDs and it's like wide and narrow. And what's cool is that there's a community on the forum of people who are modifying this kit and they're like, 4 is not enough. I need 18 LEDs. It needs a 6-volt battery pack. I need it to be attached to my cap, and so everywhere I look, TVs turn off. There's this hacking and modification of these existing technologies, and because it's all open source, there's no like, oh, I have to understand what the chip is and extract the firmware and use ACID to take the die out. No, it's all open source. It's easy to hack. It's kickstarted, so you just go in and say, oh, how do I connect extra LEDs? Oh, I just add them on, that's it? Okay, cool, this is a hack that I can do, and if you're younger, this will get you started so that you can continue on to more advanced hacking. And then lately I've been working on Arduino-based projects. That's an open source microcontroller platform. So this is a DIY GPS logger and tracker. So maybe next Hope or the next conference we go to, we'll talk about some of the projects we're doing with that.
How many people here know about Arduino or playing around? Yeah, wow.
That's a lot.
So that number, every time we're out, it's...
It was like 6 people.
Yeah,
last
before
time.
it was like one guy was like, Arduino.
Yay. So what we're going to be talking about today, and this is a new kit, is a SIM card reader kit. So I don't actually own a cell phone because I own a cell phone jammer and they're not very compatible. But I think it's interesting that, a couple years ago, maybe 10 years ago, everyone was like really into reading mag stripes. But nowadays, we don't really, now there's actually like RFID style cards. But it's interesting that I never actually learned about SIM cards, and even though they're in almost every phone, and the technology behind SIM cards is really interesting, but all the information I tried to find online was really kind of archaic. It actually was difficult for me to understand. So I wanted to build something that, even though this is sort of an older technology, makes it really easy and straightforward to understand how SIM cards work and why they're secure and how you can crack that security.
And one other thing that this is a project that we worked on together was we decided to start a laser etching business, an open source laser etching business in New York City. So we got this laser, it was $20,000, and we paid it off in about 6 months. And what we were doing is laser etching laptops. So if you've seen laptops around, we etch these. So we take perfectly good Macs and void the warranties, and people pay us. Go figure. Steve Jobs' nightmare. We also tried to do other things, like this is food. We put sushi instructions on nori. So
we put the faces of people we don't like on tortillas, and then we eat them. And like, it's like a weird like laser etching millennial voodoo.
So we put all this information out, and there's around 20 laser shops that opened since we did this. We put all the files, everything, mostly because we're tired of people emailing us saying, oh, I can't come to New York City, can I send you something? We don't want people to send us their laptops. So now people in all parts of the world are starting their own laser etching businesses.
Okay, so that was the intro, but the rest is going to be a lot faster. So 2 years ago, we came here and we did a talk called Citizen Engineer, and where we actually did a full talk about that sort of stuff, this reemergence of hardware technology, sort of the new era of hacking and freaking and
you can download the video or buy it.
Yeah,
I think they have it here.
it's online for free. I've seen a bunch of people have it. But what we thought about, so we've been going to this conference for like 10 years. I didn't go to the first Hope, but I went to Beyond Hope, and I think that was about 10 years ago. And another thing we noticed when we looked at some of the speakers here is I think there's a lot of people are talking about this as the last hope, and there's this understanding, or at least this sort of feeling that the hacking scene as we knew it in the 90s, and if you're 17, maybe you don't remember this, but it's kind of dead. Not in like a bad way, like, oh my God, it died, how tragic, it was on its deathbed, and we gave it oxygen, but it couldn't make it. But there's definitely been a transition from this early hopes, 1994 to 2000 to 2002 to 2008.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of nostalgia. These conferences are filled with things from blue boxes, red boxes, exploits, buffers, IRC, text files, drunk jerks, getting kicked out of cons, drama. What were some of your, shout out some of the things that happened in like the 90s in the hacking that you liked or didn't like. Just shout out some stuff. Jail time,
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's very passé.
Yeah, and actually, and what we'll show you pretty soon would have been the worst thing we could have possibly done probably in the late 90s, but now it's like, oh, cool, like now it's fun. So it's interesting, times do change. Now there's other things. So instead of doing things that we all used to do, now there's white papers, everyone's security consultants, they're doing pen testing, they have book deals, there's VoIP, there's boondoggles.
Yeah, people don't war dial, they war drive. It's kind of this new old.
And so what we noticed was that as some things ended, some things began. Hardware started to happen, like, based on the number of people here who knew about Arduino, that's a lot even in 2 years. And people are buying more kits. Make is one of the things that we've been working on for a while, and we can't seem to keep up with the demand. There's more and more people wanting to do hardware than ever before.
Yeah.
So Citizen Engineer is something that we put together. We wanted to look forward, not back, but we also wanted to build on the past. So we like the idea of the anarchist technologies that got us all here, and we think they're still interesting, but what we wanted to do is pull it all together and show it maybe in a modern way. So we made a video, and it's kind of like a short film. We just debuted it just like a few minutes ago on the web, and we're going to show you some snippets. It's going to always be non-commercial, non-sponsored. We're going to try to do these as often as we can. It's only for people like all of us here. We don't think anyone else is going to like it. Maybe we kind of hope they don't either. But we'll see. So I'm going to
So you talk about the introduction? Or?
Yeah, one of the things that we wanted to do too is a lot of the things that Lamora's worked on, she made the Zox box. So people take the Zox box and then make interesting music. So we wanted to use that as our soundtrack. So now we've got a bunch of cool music. There's also artists who are using processing, which is part of the Arduino development environment, similar IDE. They do interesting art. So we talked to an artist who does really interesting art with processing. So this is the introduction, and then we're going to show you some other snippets. So
Can I turn the lights down?
yeah, if we can get the house lights off from now forward, that would be great. I don't know if anyone has access to that. Ooh, look at that. Wow, that was fast.
Oh, what's it?
Okay, so we'll start here.
Oh, blurry. Maybe it should be louder?
Yeah, maybe louder.
Louder?
Okay.
Make it.
Okay, so that's our introduction. Now what we're going to do is skip ahead to the first part. So what we did is we talked about GSM phones, SIM cards, all that stuff. You can download the video later. And then what we do is kind of demystify some of what goes on behind the scenes with electronics. So we do a parts tour of all the things that
Explain what it is. We don't
you'll need. Maybe you should mention what the
So basically,
it
this
is.
first project is, every GSM phone has a SIM card in it. And there's actually a lot of really interesting things going on in SIM cards. A lot of the stuff was actually explored back in '98, especially when Ian Goldberg cracked the COMP 128v1 encryption scheme. But basically,